Welcome to UltraFlex podcast studio from UltraFlex Rotherham UK. Today we've got a special guest, Mr. Charles Mardon, 3 times NPC European champion, come close to winning his pro card many times, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, venture capitalist, UltraFlex founder, and one of the most successful men that I have ever come across. Charlie is a fountain of knowledge when it comes to not just business advice, but also life advice through his experience coming from the very bottom and achieving the highest of the heights in business, bodybuilding, and now MMA. Guys, without further ado, Charles Mardon. Welcome to our brand new studio at UltraFlex Rotherham UK. Today, we have a special guest. We have the man, the myth, the legend, the man who created it all, Mr. Charles Mardon.
Pleasure. Happy to be here. Thank you, Cuba.
This is the founder of UltraFlex. And I think many people want the answers. They want to know what the man behind the brand is all about. So today, I want some answers that people want to know. What you're all about, how UltraFlex came about, and give a little bit of background and story as to what led to create an UltraFlex. Because that's often the question that people ask me. And I think it's always better coming from the horse's mouth, as they say.
Sure. Okay. Well, look, I'll try to give my best reflections on that. And it was great to be in a podcast room here in Rotherham as well. It feels like a huge distance from where it started to where it is now. How it came about, really, I was just talking to a member about this morning, is I would travel a lot through business or for holidays and things like that. And I would go to these amazing gyms, and then I would come back to Leeds and, struggle to find a really, high level gym. And you end up sort of thinking, Leeds is a massive place. There should be something of that caliber in the area. And there was gyms that had good equipment for some things, but not for others. Or there were ones that had some good kit, but small amount of it, and had elements of it, but never everything all in one place. And I think the final straw was I went back to visit family in Norfolk and went to this amazing gym called Fully Pumped. I know the owner, Rich, there. And he had this amazing warehouse gym. And I was just like, oh, this is crazy. I moved to Leeds, bigger place. I was, and now there's this amazing gym in my original hometown. So it was supposed to just be one gym. That was the theory behind it. And I talked to my training partners, Lee and Mike, about it for a while. And we're like, look, I'm going to have to just do this because no one's going to do it. And so the kind of way I sold it to myself was, look, if this can cover costs and we can get this up and running, then we can fill it with the best equipment. And at the time I was competing, so this can be a base to train in. And this is, it's not about a business. This is just about making an environment where I can be able to concentrate on my training, have all the equipment I need around to kind of fulfill my potential, or the limited amount I had, and then and really get it going. So that was the theory behind the first gym. And what happened was, because we created it for the passion and for the purpose, and it wasn't just, a lot of gyms can be just about making money and volume. I think it really appealed to a lot of people, and it started to attract people from all over, get a little bit of attention. I remember you visiting, and we've got that great picture with me and Mike when we bumped into each other that day.
I did indeed, yes.
And so from there, I was, a friend of mine encouraged me, said, look, you should do another gym. I wasn't really, kind of initially keen. That kind of span out, Rotherham being the third gym, and really that's when things started to build a lot of momentum and get a lot of attention. And you start to look and think, look, there's a demand for great gyms, all across the UK and beyond. People are really into this kind of style of training. And I felt there was a gap between budget gyms where it's very cheap, but it's very basic. And look, not to criticize some of those gyms, but they provide a lot for a very little budgetary fee, but you get what you pay for. At the other end of the scale, there was health clubs where they were charging 100, 150 pounds a month. And if you weren't using the tennis and the sauna and the pool and all that sort of stuff, it wasn't necessarily great value. And the gyms in there tended to be secondary to other facilities, or they tend to be really cardio heavy. So UltraFlex became this thing which was about strength training. And as we both well know, that's the worst kept secret to how to have a great, physique, and also to be healthy and fit. So we have that different ratio where we've got 80% strength and 20% cardio. And that was a sort of starting point. So it came out of a passion project and then became a business.
Did you ever expect the business to take off the way it did? Because initially, like I said, you didn't really look to make any money from this. You didn't really look to have a degree of success that has happened from having the gyms now. because ultimately it's a brand now, and it's a world-known brand with people even copying it overseas. But we'll not get into that too much. But did you ever have that expectation?
Not initially, but I suppose part of that was I like to go into things with a little bit of a black hat on, and manage my own expectations a little bit and think, even if I'm pessimistic, do I think this can work? Yeah. Part of the thing was also, in the past, bodybuilding gyms have always been quite niche and kind of a little bit exclusive and perhaps not very welcoming. So it was that middle ground where you've got the quality of facility of a commercial level gym, but with the kind of equipment that somebody who's training to be the top in anything, powerlifting, bodybuilding, strongman, or other sports can use. So I didn't really think it would initially, but you start to see the momentum building. And part of the thing was also, you think, well, maybe it's just people like me who want this. Other people don't want it. And then you realize, actually, I think more and more people now want a high quality place to train, and also a gym with an atmosphere. Some gyms, if you forget your headphones, that's a long session. If you come into one of these gyms, there's great music playing, there's a real good atmosphere. It gets people fired up. And I think that's the part that, is one of our unique aspects is you come in and there's a really good environment and there's a really good community of people to be around and train, and that's a huge part of it. It's not just the kit, it's the community and the benefits there. I'd
probably say that's one of the most important part of it is the community that's around every single gym. It's definitely creates a good bond, and to be honest, I think that's what drives the gyms as well. It's not just the equipment, it's not just the fit out, it's more so the people inside it. People create the gym ultimately.
Yeah.
So what drives you to do what you do on a daily basis? Not many people know what you actually do. I have people ask me all the time, what does Charlie do? So I don't want you to go into too much detail, but tell people what you actually do, and more importantly, what drives you to keep going. Because realistically, you don't need to be doing this. You don't have to do this, and you don't have to keep trying to push for more. So what drives you to keep going and keep pushing? But first, tell us what you're all about.
What I do. I mean, my main, I suppose the easiest way to just try and describe what I do is I'm an angel investor and venture capitalist. So I invest in different businesses across different sectors. And my job is to put in also some of the money, but also some of the expertise around how to scale that business, how to grow the business, and to work with the founders or business partners as you are in those businesses to help look at how do we make this a success as well. And that's really interesting because I get to work across different sectors: financial, property, leisure, healthcare, retail, and so on as well. So that keeps it interesting. What I do, I work my ass off. That's the basics of it, and I have done for a long period of time. So my background wasn't, I wasn't sort of any sort of major success. I was self-made. I worked my way through from working in a call center to starting my own business in 2007, and then expanding out from there. And to your second question, why do I do it? I think I do it because I know I do it because we're only here once. So I want to do everything I can do. And I want to, when my day comes, I want to look back and think, yeah, I did it all. I did it all. And there's nothing that I didn't do that I'd ever wonder, whoa, if I'd have tried that, how would that have worked out for me? So the kind of no regrets thing, because even the things that don't work out, well, I'll be glad that I did it. And also just to experience all this sort of thing. It's great working with fantastic people. That fires me up and keeps me motivated. I think it's very easy for people to get complacent, to get bored. So it's good to keep things interesting. And look, with some of these businesses, you just see where they go and you think, look, there's a really exciting trajectory of that. So it's energizing to be part of that. And one day when I've had enough and I want to put my feet up, well, I'm sure I will do, or I'll slow down. But at the moment, I feel like I've got a lot to give. So why not give it 100%? It's been also useful when I transitioned out of competing in, to make sure I finish that sentence properly, when I transitioned out of competing in bodybuilding, was to put my energy into something else. Yeah. Because my body was at a situation where injuries and age probably meant that I wasn't going to be improving, albeit that I could stay in reasonable shape. So put that energy into, okay, well now what else can I do, and how can I kind of boost the business world as well?
Do you think that's helped you a little bit to have that transition?
Yeah, definitely, because the temptation was to go back into competing and to keep going back. And I'd done it for 15 years, so I was keen to kind of call it a day on that. But it's always tempting, especially you get that little glimpse in the mirror and you think, maybe I got a little something left and so on. So it was good to have something to put my energy into. But also a new challenge, because what I felt was if I'd won a few shows in 2018 overseas, and I thought, well, if I keep doing this, what am I really doing? I'm proving that I can still do what I did a few months ago. Well, that's not really progression. And also I was realistic about my potential in bodybuilding, that I was always going to be a kind of a high level amateur or a champion as an amateur, but I didn't feel like I would make a real dent as a pro. And so therefore actually be realistic about where my talents lie and progress that, but still keep my love for bodybuilding. I still train as hard as I used to, I just don't recover as well as I used to, and I'm not trying to achieve the same things.
One thing I've noticed with a lot of people, especially having you do a lot of talking, a lot of educating, and presentations at the seminars that we did with MK, a lot of people's quite inspired on how you run your day to day, and how, not just how driven you are, but also how you manage your personal life, your business, and still staying on top of your physique and staying in shape and all the training. So tell us a little bit about this, because this is where I think a lot of people tend to create a lot of excuses. Okay. And I think we see that a lot in bodybuilding, where bodybuilders just focus on bodybuilding, right? They don't really tend to use the traits that make you a great bodybuilder that can also make you a great businessman, right? And I think with yourself, you've managed to capitalize on every single avenue and maximize everything to a degree where you've become the person that you are today. So tell us all about that, please.
Yeah, I mean, bodybuilding definitely gave me a lot in terms of that structure, discipline, determination, and dedication. And the expression I always use is the best thing to do is to take the best out of bodybuilding, not let bodybuilding take the best out of you. And sometimes, I was guilty of that, where I was so desperate to win shows or to push myself really hard that I let my personal life or my business life suffer to an extent. So it was much more about how do you have a balance between those three things. So I keep it simple, which is training, in my business and my personal life. And a simple way to do it is give yourself a score 1 to 10 on those, and then think about where am I and where should I be. And actually, if you're going to get to a 10 in one, I think you end up with a very low score in two of the others. So do you want to be an 8 or a 9 across the board? And that's really where you can make the most of life, but also be prepared for when bodybuilding or any competitive sport is finished. And like for yourself, you're in a great position where you've got the gyms, you've got the coaching business, you're prepared for that next evolution. And that's where it's harder for some people to make the transition, because they haven't sort of set up all those other things in the background. And I'm fanatical about my diary management. Because you're busy, you have to become structured. So I'll have my morning slots for MMA. I'll work through the day. And then I'll have an afternoon slot for weight training 3 days a week. And then I'll have some more work, and then I'll have evening family time or at the weekends. But it's making sure you've allocated those times, because there's no surprise that if you have a small amount of time allocated to something, it will probably suffer. Whereas if you set out and you say, all right, and you can do it in color codes, 3 different colors. This is what with my diary, this is what I'm going to spend for my training time, this is what I'm going to spend for my family time, this is what I'm going to spend for my business time, and then you can make sure you've allocated those. But I found it also was helpful, because I didn't then feel guilty training because I should be in a meeting. I didn't feel bad having a meeting because I'd already done my training, so I knew I'd box that off. And also then when I was having personal family time, I could be 100% in that, not be on my phone, not be thinking about I need to be at the gym and so on. So it's much more structured.
It's almost like you're all in on everything that you do. So if it's training time, it's all in on training. If it's family time, you're all in on family time. If it's business time, you're all in on business. I think it's definitely a great divide.
Yeah, now, and you see people in the gym where they're dicking about their phones while they're training. So it's like, actually you'll get more done by 100% in on your training, pick up your phone afterwards, do what you need to do, and be focused on that, rather than kind of grazing on different things at the time.
I'll leave my phone in the car now.
Oh yeah.
Don't take it in the gym.
Yeah. Super addictive.
If you're a coach, you need to leave your phone in the car. I hate that's my pet peeve. A PT or a coach with a phone in the hand. Yeah. I hate that.
Yeah. It's tempting, isn't it? And these things are super addictive, and they're made to be addictive, and it's hard for people to get off of it. So yeah, I find that sort of stuff really helpful.
Tell us some words of advice for anyone that's looking to either open a gym or be successful in business or even bodybuilding. What would your best piece of advice would be? Because right now, we're fitness industry. Everyone wants to open a gym, right? Everyone wants to get into fitness business, or everyone just wants to make money, right? That's what's popularized at the moment. So you're the man that's done it all, right? And you started from bottom up. You did not have anything given to you. So tell us the best words of advice that you can givers for anyone that's looking to really, really, really become somebody.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it's important. I worked briefly as a PT a long time ago, and I realized actually that was taking away my enthusiasm for training. So sometimes it's being careful about, do you want to keep that as your special thing that you really enjoy and make business something else? You know, your business might be an office job or something, but that allows you to make training then just for that, because if you've been in the gym for 10 hours a day doing on the floor as a PT, are you as enthusiastic, you know, and particularly after a longer period of time? But what everyone wants to do, which I understand why, is you want to skip forward, you know, go straight to this, is actually build it up in stages and realize maybe opening a gym is going to be too much capital to do initially, make some money doing something else, build up a chunk of capital, and then do that as a next stage, rather than trying to leap forward. And it's very difficult because the banks aren't interested in lending money for leisure facilities. So often it's having some success in something else that will allow you to facilitate a transition to something else later down the line, rather than trying to go straight for it initially and maybe not doing it to the full capacity. And also, I think the other piece of advice would be, what is your USP? If you're just going to, so part of with the UltraFlex gyms, our USP is that we offer something different. We're in the middle of the market in terms of price, and we're offering something different to the health clubs, different to the budget gyms, and a kind of a more modern take on bodybuilding gyms. But also, 90% of our members are not bodybuilders. It's just people who want a great gym to train in, a fantastic atmosphere. But it's thinking about what is that thing, because if you're just going to open up another budget gym, you're just going to be in competition with some really big players who've got some seriously deep pockets. If you're going to open up a kind of boutique health gym or a PT studio, what's going to make you different? And that's always a question to ask in any kind of business, is what makes you different to the others who are out there, because you're either going to have to do it better or you're going to have to do it differently in order to take a market share. So, you know, that's my shorter version of that. Trying to get into a caffeine rumble.
Everyone's taking notes. Make sure you've got your notepads ready. Make sure you've got your notepads ready. Now, how important is your systems that you've got in place and the circle of people around you that not only work with, but also you have personal relationships with? Because one thing I've noticed with yourself is you're not an easy man to get involved with, right? I know that for a fact. And I think someone of your stature at times is probably going to have a lot of people that are almost going to try and get involved with you before they can get out of you. So how important is having the right people around you, especially at your level now?
It's massively important, and particularly as you get busier, you have less and less time. So then you want to spend that time wisely. You want to spend it with people who you enjoy the company of, or who are going to add value to you, and you're going to add value to them as well. And I think that's a mistake we all make it when you're younger, which is we all equate more to better. Oh, if I have more friends, I'm more popular, that's a better outcome. And then as you probably found, over time, you end up with a smaller group of people who you have a high quality relationship with. And
I just going to swap them out there, actually.
and as a result, you have more quality time with those people, and you enjoy it more, rather than lots of acquaintances and stuff like that. So less is more, I think, in that respect. It becomes easier over time to kind of spot people who are perhaps in it for the wrong reasons. And I think it's being a little bit ruthless in terms of weeding out people who are the negative influence. And I judge often people not just by how they treat me, but how they treat others around me. So they might be lovely to me, but I'm always interested to see how they interact with people who I'll introduce them to. And, as you know, I mean, like, I go all over the world and come up, meet people who, Cuba fans or whatever. It's a small world. The expression is really true. Your reputation is such an important thing. So you realize over time, actually, you want to be known as a stand-up guy who's honest and decent to deal with, and whether you can agree to disagree on certain things as well. So, but that can work in a counteractive way for other people. So, I think being selective, picking a great group of people to be around, and also not being afraid to for people who, I didn't want to indirectly condone their behavior by ignoring it, or by almost allowing it to happen on presence, to say, look, I don't want to fall out with you, but that's not acceptable. So either we agree that you change how you deal with people, or let's just go our separate ways, and best of luck to you. We don't have to have a massive bust up about it. I don't have to ghost you about it. Let's just be open about it. And then if that person wants to change their pattern of behavior, great, look, come on the journey. And if you don't, look, no hard feelings, but it's not going to, I'm not going to take you along for the ride with this.
If you look back on the YouTube, one of the mentoring sessions I actually had with Charles, we went over this, and he actually led me to cutting a lot of people out that was just dragging me down in certain ways.
Yeah.
So it definitely makes sense. So,
and look, in life, there's a value exchange in it. That's okay as long as it's an exchange. Where it's a one-way traffic, that's when it's a problem. So if someone's they need some help from you, but they ask, what can I do to say thank you? That's great. It doesn't have to, and it doesn't always have to be exactly an equal exchange. But there's been certain times where I've just asked someone for a small favor back. Can't help you, and you think I've done loads for you, and you can't help me with a small sort of thing. But in a way, you get to more of a point of acceptance of saying, look, I'm glad you told me that, because now I know where we stand on that, and I know that it's a strictly one-way thing, and that's not okay. So
that's a big one. That's a big one.
So I always try and think of that when someone does something to help me, and we think of lots of times in the past where it's you've helped me with various things. What can I do to help? I'll come and speak at one of your sessions or whatever. So it then becomes a reciprocal thing, and no one's keeping count. It's just look, I know if I picked up the phone and I said, can you help me with this? You would do it, and vice versa. If you said to me, look, can I have your help with that? And so you get to some really good relationships where you're in credit with everybody, and vice versa.
So one thing that I've realized is I know that if I asked, I can always rely on you. That's the difference. With some people, you don't have that belief where right, if I was to message that person, whatever problem I had, would I be able to rely on them? Would I get the help that I may need or may not need, or even words of advice from them? Probably not. With yourself, I've got no doubts that I'd get what I need.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest difference. It's not even like a two-way street. It's more so a mutual understanding that whatever I need, you've got my back, and then vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then you just have that confidence, don't you, in someone? And you think about how many people you can aspire to have that confidence in you. You then have a great group of people who are just, they're on board, and you may never need them, but it's also part of the reassurance when you're trying to make progress in business or in competitions or whatever, which is, that's the safety net. I've got those people around me. If things get tough, I can have that, but that can give you the confidence to take some leaps forward without worrying about what's going to happen if this doesn't work out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about confidence and the building momentum from that as well. Yeah. Makes a big difference with any business decision that you make, or even anything that you do, any endeavor that you actually partake in. I think it does make a big difference. What's next? What is next for the business? What is next for Charles? What is next across the board? People want to know. People want to know. I know there's Derby gym going.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us a little bit about that, and tell us a little bit about what's next. What's upcoming with the gyms, the clothing, the brand, and the life. Yeah.
So look, the great thing is I get lots of really nice messages from people all over saying, I've traveled to one of the gyms. I love it. I'd love to have something nearer to home. And the next plan is to do a national rollout across the UK, expand the gyms to make sure that hopefully we're always within half an hour, 45 minutes of anyone who's within a major town or city. Sometimes for some of the people who send in requests, for like a small village in the middle of nowhere, I do my best, but there's limitations, but always try and accommodate. And I suppose in the same way you have brands in the budget space, or you have brands in the health space, to be a brand in that mid-tier, which is high quality facilities for people who are serious about their training or who want to be around that environment and have a great session. So we've got Derby, which has been announced. There's a few others in the pipeline that I'm working on, which are upcoming, and I'll announce very, very soon. But those will start to get much further afield. At the moment, we've been fairly northern based, so moving further into the Midlands and further south. To sort of spread the opportunity for people to have these sort of facilities. And I think also it'd be great for UK bodybuilding and other strength athletics, because you see the caliber and the number of people who've come out of this gym and gone on to compete at a high level of success, got the pro card and so on. There's a reason for that, and that will be fantastic, I hope, for UK bodybuilding. And this has always been the thing that a lot of the top level people from the US, or increasingly now from the Middle East, is to do the same for the UK and make sure that people around these communities, around this environment where they can excel and have all the facilities they need to do it.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah,
what's next with the clothing? Any more bits coming out?
Yeah, so we've got some new clothing bits, and Katie and the team, along with Mike, have worked on some fantastic new designs. Lots of stuff that we'll be launching over the coming months as well, and particularly as we go through the seasons. And I suppose we've got the full range of different styles. So however you like to wear it, super baggy, super fitted, sleeveless, covered up, XXXL tees, get everything on there. And also we worked a lot on the quality of the clothing. So So really nice stuff. I was part of the kind of the metric for me when I get it is, would I wear it? Because if I wouldn't wear it, we shouldn't be selling it.
Yeah.
And I like really nice quality stuff. So and I think we sell it at a, of course, price, but really affordable price as well. These are lovely items. And it's great for people to be part of that. And then we've been doing a few more of the custom bits and pieces, so some different designs or some one-off stuff, which is exciting as well.
If you want to know more, you're going to have to get on the website, ultraflex.co.uk, for all the gyms, all the clothing, and everything UltraFlex. So get on that. Right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's guest and today's episode of the Nameless Podcast. We don't actually have a podcast name just yet. So if you have any suggestions for the podcast name, drop them down below. And if you've got any questions, as always, feel free to ask below as well. I hope that you've taken some value out of today's talk. As always, spending some time with Charlie is invaluable for me, so I imagine you all have taken something away from this. Guys, please like, share, subscribe, and you can actually tune in on this very soon through all the platforms, Spotify, iTunes, and all the podcast platforms. You will be able to get your new favorite channel and listen to it on a weekly, monthly basis. Guys, thank you, and peace out. We're out.